Hello to all my patrons and the people who waited a year. This extremely bright light is in my face because this is the interrogation episode. Let me get the thumbnail here. I need to look like I'm being interrogated, but also be aware of shadows and finger placement because, I'm a stickler like that. So, that look good? Is that a good thumbnail? I sure hope so. I'm not gonna lie, I had contemplated not doing it with a light in my face the whole time, but screw it, let's make me go blind. Yeah, I thought about just doing it for the thumbnail and then turning it off, but no, you deserve my absolute best efforts. And part of those best efforts is recording a backup. Whoopsie doodles, wasn't paying attention there. We are still working with two microphones because I don't trust anything. But okay, backup record is going. So everything's great and wonderful and good. Let me think of an opening line here. Where were you on the night that Fix My Car Cast drops? And then this is where the theme song goes. Everything's gonna be nice and quiet. Everything's recording. Good. You're listening to Fix My Car Cast, hosted by Bear Claw Billy, and this is episode 147. Comedian and musician Keith Hebert is going to come in here later, and I'm a lot nicer than him. But first, housekeeping. This is the show where you pick what I say and how I say it. Pick a topic or prompt by donating to the GoFundMe, and vote on the gimmick by joining my Patreon for just $1 a month. Join at the $5 or higher level, and also get bonus episodes and behind-the-scenes footage. Links are in the description. Also down there, merch. Get yourself some merch. You know what's going to be best for you? If you get some merch and you wear it and everyone will say, hey, look at you, I remember you. And then you'll have an alibi if there's ever a crime in your area. There you go, it all works out. No new donors this week. The total raised for paying off my car repair debt is holding at $2,327. Also, when we get to $3,000, it unlocks an automatic show gimmick, which is I will record an episode at sea. Fun fact, did you know that this whole podcast disappears when we hit $10,000? Put it away for life. Hey, do you like the theme song? No? Well, if you make a donation of $50 or more, in addition to picking an episode topic, you get to change one thing about the theme song forever. Unless somebody else changes it back. Want me to make it sound like a reggae song about boys that are bad? I'll do it. $50. Also, if you would like to own the painting I made in episode 118, I'll be giving it away to the next person who donates $100 or more. That's right, own a piece of Fix My Car Cast history while you still can. If you'd like to see the painting before you buy it, it can be viewed in the raw video version of episode 118 over on Patreon. Link is in the description. And yes, the painting, it's somewhere. No new patrons this week, bummer. Now it's time for a topic suggestion. I'll suggest topics I think I could easily talk about for a whole episode, though admittedly I think the show is more fun when it's something I'm completely clueless about. So, something I could talk about is, I don't know, movies? I guess? Want to know more? Donate today. Checking in on the best city in the world based on which city listened to the last episode the most, and our big winner is Charlotte, North Carolina. Congratulations, Charlotte, North Carolina. That's a newcomer. Let it be known that your Lawrence Hall of Science, Doe Library, and Sather Tower are the best in the world for 7 days. Last episode, I talked about the musical episode of Fix My Car Cast while incorporating 25 monsters. You can see video of all the raw footage, plus on-screen graphics tallying each monster, plus a little extra over on Patreon. Also, head over to Patreon for a bonus episode where I talk about my adventures in playing Michael Myers. Okay, let's talk next week's gimmick poll. These are your choices for next week's episode gimmick. They are: wear a coat hanger on my head, bleep every F word in post, do it like a Game of Thrones episode, and our returning gimmick Incorporate 25 Disney movie lyrics. Let's recap. Number 1, wear a coat hanger on my head. There was a viral thing a while back that says if you're wearing a coat hanger on your head, it'll automatically make you turn your head. So I will put it to the test during an episode. Number 2, bleep every F word in post. Now, not just that one specific F word. Any word I say that starts with F will be bleeped in post. Number 3, do it like a Game of Thrones episode. That's right, I'll do it in the style of Game of Thrones, a show that I have seen once, one time. Look it up. And number 4, our returning gimmick, incorporate 25 Disney movie lyrics. When I do the lyric challenges, I usually only do one per song, but we'll see on this one. It could be a tough one, but I will incorporate 25 Disney movie lyrics into said episode. Remember that any gimmick that gets just a single vote is eligible for a second chance in 6 weeks. Be sure to vote over on Patreon. The poll closes Thursday, October 31st at noon Eastern America time. Hey, that's Halloween. All right, time for today's gimmick, which is do it like an interrogation. Of course, gimmicks don't start until housekeeping is out of the way in case any of them prevent me from sharing vital information. But now, we are entering the gimmick zone. From this point on, gimmicks are active and everything is improvised. There's no sponsored topic for today's episode, but since it's the last week in October, today's topic will be the Halloween Horror Review 24. Okay, it's like an interrogation. All right, Billy, thank you for coming down here. As you know, we've met already. I'm Detective Carpenter. There's a lot going on out there, and we need to get some answers. So we need you in here to tell us what you know about the horrific events of the Spectre Dome Killer and his reign over Toledo, Ohio, Maine. Well, thank you, Detective Carpenter. I hope that, I can help you in your investigation. I know people that the Spectre Dome Killer have slain, so this is very personal to me. Well, that may be true, Billy, but I gotta tell you, you're not doing a great job keeping yourself off the suspects list. I know we already had you down here once and we let you go, but some new information has come to light, and it's not looking good for you, Billy. What do you mean? What's wrong? Well, it seems that you've been going around dressed like a serial killer. Oh, yeah, that. Yeah, every year I like to dress up like Michael Myers. Oh, from the movie Halloween? Yeah, from the movie Halloween. I'd like to dress up like him and walk around in character. I feel like it's fun for a lot of people, and they really enjoy it. Well, that may be true, Billy, but your sketchy behavior has put you on our list, so we're going to need a comprehensive rundown of everywhere you've been in the entire month of October. Okay, seems like kind of a tall order, but I keep a lot of notes, so I'm sure it can help. Well, what do you mean you keep a lot of notes? I'm a little baffled by this. Do you keep regular journals? No, but I watch a lot of movies, and whenever I watch one, I, make a note of it and write down what I can remember about it. Oh, okay. I see how this is. So you've got a little list of everywhere you've been all month. Well, I was home watching movies a lot this month. Okay, well, where were you on the night of October 1st? Oh, okay, October 1st? Yeah, I was watching 2008's Let the Right One In, which is, don't tell me what that is. I know a lot about horror cinema. Oh, okay, so then it's a pretty great vampire movie. Yeah, I've seen it. I know a little bit about it. It's the one about the little girl vampire and the little boy she befriends. Yeah, that's the one. What did you think of it? We're not here to talk about what I think about classic horror cinema. Well, I mean, it's 2008. It is 2008, but it's still a classic as far as I'm concerned. You're spot on, Detective Carpenter. I thought that one was really good too. I appreciated it a lot. It's very slowly paced. I thought I thought there would be a little more vampire action, but I have to say the vampire action that we get, pretty exciting. And yeah, I would highly recommend Let the Right One In. Okay, we're not here for reviews, Billy. I don't need to know what you thought of each one. I just need to confirm where you were when you were watching it. Yeah, I was home watching this one on October 1st. Okay, all right, so we can rule out October 1st. But what about October 2nd? Oh, let's see. That's when I was watching 1998's Phantoms. Ooh, woof. I agree, Detective Carpenter. Yeah, that one, not great. I mean, all I knew about it going in was that Ben Affleck was in it because there's a random joke about that in one of the Jay and Silent Bob movies. Yeah, I think that's Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, if I'm not mistaken. Right you are, Detective Carpenter. Yeah, so I finally watched Phantoms. Yeah, it's not great. And I kind of knew that going in because one of the first on-screen credits was based on a story by Dean Koontz. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Are you knocking Dean Koontz? I mean, I've only seen two movies based on his works, but neither of them were good. What was the other one? I watched Demon Seed not too long ago. Oh, with the weird big shape. Yeah, with the weird big shape. It was also not good. And Phantoms wasn't either. I couldn't even really follow what the plot was about. It seems to just be random stuff happening in a random town, and that's it. And then they give you like an explanation behind it, and it's not very good. Also, who was in it? Peter O'Toole, I think? Now, wait a minute, Billy. Do you not have in your notes if Peter O'Toole was in the movie or not? No, all I write down are the dates and the titles. Oh, okay. So you're just kicking these reviews from your hip? Well, these aren't reviews, as you've said, Detective. Okay. I like to know your opinions on the movies, too. But tell me this, where were you on the night of October 3rd? Oh, well, on October 3rd, it's hard to see the year because these lights are so bright. Oh, sorry about that. You want me to turn those down? No, I've committed already, so let's just keep it on. Anyway, I watched 1989's The Shocker. Excuse me, Shocker, not The Shocker. Now, why would you watch a movie like that, Billy? Well, to be completely honest, because I saw the artwork at the video store when I was a kid. You see, when video stores were all the rage, it was this wild time where you would go in with your parents and there'd be the movies that you would watch as a family, but also you'd see the box art for the movies that you're like, oh man, I gotta see that when mom and dad aren't around. And Shocker was one of them. It is a movie about a guy who gets the electric chair and survives and has some pretty undefined superpowers as a result of that. Now, what do you mean undefined? Well, I couldn't quite figure out what he can do. It seems like he can travel into people's bodies, but also he can travel over television waves, but also sometimes he can turn into electronic instruments, but also sometimes he can jump into TV shows. I don't know. The whole thing was a mess. Seemed very much like it's directed by Wes Craven, and so it seems like he was kind of trying to strike lightning twice. Because this is basically just a Nightmare on Elm Street ripoff, just with different rules. Now, what do you mean? You saying that this Shocker guy is a ripoff of Freddy Krueger? That is exactly what I'm saying. Though I don't fault Mitch Pileggi. I like his performance as the character. I can't remember his name. It's some podunk criminal name. It's like Horace Jasper or something like that. Yeah, like it's a fun movie, but you definitely put it on as kind of one of the dumb ones. And by the way, movies that had really compelling box art, but then the movie turned out to not really be that interesting. That theme is coming back in these reviews. Reviews, don't you mean interrogation? That I do, Detective. What else do you need to know? Well, we've confirmed your whereabouts on October 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. What about October 4th? Where were you then? Oh, let's see, October 4th, I was watching 2019's Ready or Not. Oh, yeah, I heard about that one. How was it? Yeah, it was pretty good. I gotta say, I did not rush right out and see it originally because to me, I was just kind of like, well, where can you really go with this premise, you know? Because in the trailer, they show that, like, oh, this woman marries into a family where they have this tradition of you have to play whatever the game is. And the game turns out to be the most dangerous game. It's we're all gonna hunt each other. They show all that in the trailer, so I'm like, where do you go with that premise? Is it just people trying to kill each other for 90 minutes? And I was pleasantly surprised. There is more woven into the story. It has a really great ending. Yeah, there was a lot I didn't expect because, yeah, I kind of was like, yeah, what do you do with that premise other than either everyone commits to it for some reason or everybody goes, this is dumb, let's not fight. But they did find a way to put enough twists and make it interesting enough that, yeah, I solidly recommend Ready or Not. Okay, good to know. I like when you have recommendations, Billy. I'll check that one out. Hey, where were you on October 5th? Oh, October 5th? Well, I was watching a film from this year, The First Omen, which I really, really, really enjoyed. Now, there's another movie that's also on this list that is going to kind of come up in tandem with it. Oh, I think I know where you're going with this, Billy. Yes, you probably do, because it seems like you know your horror movies really well. Oh, well, I dabble, to say the least. Okay, The First Omen is a prequel to The Omen. I can't say how well it fits with any of the Omen sequels, because I have not seen any of the Omen sequels, though you could sponsor me to do that at any time. Sponsor you? Why would I sponsor you? Oh, sorry. I have this pot. We'll get into that later. But I really like The First Omen. I feel like it had enough creepy moments. It had enough, like, jaw on the floor, what the hell's going on? Also a little sapphic. But yeah, it is basically a prequel to The Omen. Where did Damien, in fact, come from? And will we stray from that a little bit and retcon it a little bit? Who knows? But yeah, I really enjoyed it. Solid performances. And I'll talk about it again a little bit later when we get to another movie on this list. Well, Billy, I'm not here to hear about the movies. I'm here to confirm where you were. Oh, well, yeah, October 5th, I was watching The First Omen at home. Okay, well, where were you on October 6th? Oh, October 6th. Oh, I remember that day. That was the day I was actually over at my buddy Dr. Payne's house, and we watched The Hitcher. Oh, with Rutger Hauer. Yeah, Rutger Hauer. He is phenomenal in that movie. And weirdly, it sort of fits with Ready or Not in movies that I didn't take a chance on because I thought I knew what the premise was, and then very quickly learned, no, that is not the case. The Hitcher is a very similar movie where you're like, yeah, I can figure out what that is. It's about a guy who picks up a hitchhiker and the hitchhiker tries to kill him. Yeah, but this movie kind of really pulls out all the stops. It feels like a fever dream. It surprises at every turn. It's a hard movie to talk about because, like, every time you start to get into it, it's like every 5 minutes, I'm like, where is this going? Where is this going? And I couldn't tell a lot of the time. It does a really good job of, like, throwing you curveballs and being like, okay, what the fuck is going on? And yeah, I don't want to say too much more about it because for me, the surprises were what actually made it work. So highly recommend The Hitcher. Even if the story doesn't do anything for you, Rutger Hauer's performance as just an insane hitchhiker is really, really good. I highly recommend it. You should check it out. Yeah, no, I'm familiar with The Hitcher. I really like that one. You're right on the money there, Billy. Tell me, where were you on the night of October 7th? Okay, well, we're coming back around to The First Omen because on October 7th, I watched Immaculate, another film that came out this year, 2024, and it is another film about a nun in Italy dealing with a pregnancy. Much like Deep Impact and Armageddon before it, Immaculate and The First Omen are both movies about pregnant nuns in Italy. As far as I can tell, just a coincidence. Though I definitely read articles about, like, yeah, weird that there's all these horror movies about pregnancy. Gee, I wonder what policy changes in recent years could have made the horrors of giving birth more relevant. But yeah, Immaculate is the same. They start from the same point, but they don't go in the same direction. Also, they both have really killer performances with some really out there things. I hate that they're going to be compared to each other probably for all of time just because they came out at the same time. It really is a case of both movies are excellent. One is a slightly different flavor than the other. I think for my money, the first Omen, it's a little more visually interesting. But I think they're both really good movies. I give Immaculate my seal of approval just as much as I give the first Omen my seal of approval. Again, the stories deviate enough that it's not just the same movie twice. But yeah, no, I highly recommend both. And I feel a little bad that they're tethered together in recommendations. But yeah, I think that Immaculate is a solid movie. I feel like this was my good movie streak where, like, just they were all bangers again and again and again. Well, yeah, why don't you tell me what else you watched there, Billy? What did you watch on October 8th? Oh, the night of October 8th. Okay, that would have been The Strangers. A movie that, once again, we're coming up on movies that I avoided for a while because they didn't seem that interesting to me. The Strangers is a tough one because there's one very interesting choice that the movie makes, but I feel like knowing that interesting choice is what gets you to watch it, and what robs that interesting choice of actually being interesting. Does that make sense? I gotta be honest, you kind of lost me here, Billy. See, that's the thing, is when I do these reviews, I try not to make them too spoilery, but then the bonus episode, I can really just pull out all the stops and talk about the spoilery stuff. But I don't want to do that for The Strangers. Well, it's okay, Billy. I've seen The Strangers. You can't ruin anything for me. No, I know, but just like, on the off chance that maybe someone else is listening to this. Oh, Billy, I highly doubt anyone is listening to this. I know, but nevertheless, The Strangers, a solid watch. I wouldn't say it was amazing, but it had enough twists. And yeah, I knew what made it so creepy going in, so it didn't really get me in that sense. But nevertheless, it's worth a watch, and I would recommend it. I mean, I thought it was just fine, but tell me, so if you were watching a horror movie every night, then what did you watch on October 9th? Oh, I watched Psycho Beach Party. Which came out in 2000, but somehow had not been on my radar until this year. I saw a bunch of posts of people posting about it. It is a horror comedy. It seems to owe a lot to the Rocky Horror Picture Show, or maybe Little Shop of Horrors. But it is basically, let's combine two 50s teen movie genres, which they were all either beach party movies or they were horror movies. And so this one starts from the premise of, like, let's do both. It's a psycho beach party. Something's killing all the teens at the beach. What do we do? I found it really funny. There are a couple of scenes that have not aged well, but I did have quite a few laughs. I did come away from it sort of like, yeah, I'd rather watch the Rocky Horror Picture Show. Or I'd rather watch Little Shop of Horrors. Like, I feel like I'd recommend both of those over Psycho Beach Party. But still, a pretty fun romp. Some great performances, including a young Amy Adams. So I recommend it for that at the very least. Okay, well, that brings us through the first third of October. But what were you doing on the night of October 10th? Oh, that was the night I watched The Void. The Void, yeah, I seen that. Kind of based on Lovecraft. Yeah, exactly right, Detective Carpenter. Yeah, The Void is pretty much as close as you can get to a Lovecraft movie without having to pay rights to Lovecraft, which I don't think you have to do because I think they're in the public domain anyway. But yeah, 2016's The Void, which I missed when it came out. I heard a lot of hype for it, and then it just kind of died down, so I never got back around to it. But yeah, it's a pretty good one. It's basically people trapped in a hospital, and there seems to be some sort of weird Lovecraftian, culty, otherworldly shit going on. And yeah, I really liked it. The effects are pretty gross. And yeah, I had a really good time with it. I appreciated everything about it. It's the kind of movie that you can tell was made on a micro budget, but like for that micro budget, it looks pretty great, and I had a good time with it. Wow, it seems like all of these are just incredible movies. Did you watch anything bad this month, Billy? I'm not gonna say they were all good. What I watched on October 11th was just okay at best. And what did you watch on October 11th? That would be 1990's Graveyard Shift, based on something by Stephen King, a story maybe or a book. I don't remember off the top of my head. But yeah, Graveyard Shift is basically about guys who are hired to clean out like a textile mill or something. And unbeknownst to them, but knownst to us, something is killing off the people that work in this textile mill. And I will simply say this, you will not guess what it is. The movie definitely drops some clues. And then the ending hits out of left field, and you're like, okay, I will not spoil what it is. It's got that classic King thing of, I've been reading a lot of Stephen King short stories recently, and it kind of reminded me of The Mangler, where I think The Mangler is about a washing machine that kills people or something like that. And then this was also a textile mill where the machinery seems to be killing people. So I think Stephen King just really loves his metaphors about labor is killing people. So I appreciate it on that level. I will say, I did watch it at the end of my shift down at the Secret Fireman Station. So it was very much a blue collar watch of I've had a rough day, I need a beer and I need to watch something stupid. Yeah, Graveyard Shift, because I myself currently work third shift. So it was really relatable to me. Now hold on, you work in third shift. When do you sleep? I tend to sleep during the day, so that accounts for where I am during the day most days. Yeah, that actually kind of blows this case wide open there, Billy. Why didn't you lead with that? You were the one asking me all the movies that I watched. Well, so you're sleeping during the day and you're watching movies at night. Seems like a hell of a life, that's all I'll say. Well, I only do this in October. I try to watch 31 horror movies I've never seen before, and why not do it for the podcast? It's a great way to check off the boxes. Oh boy, you must get kind of tired though. Don't you wish there were two of you sometimes? Well, it's funny you mention that, Detective Carpenter, because the movie that I watched on October 12th is Infinity Pool, 2023's Infinity Pool, off the top of my head, directed by Brandon Cronenberg, I believe, the son of body horror genius David Cronenberg. You spoiled it a little bit there. But yeah, I do wish there were two of me sometimes. I feel like Infinity Pool is a movie that I really enjoyed going in because I didn't know anything, and I feel like I want to do the same for you as well. It is. We're definitely in an era of eat the rich cinema, and Infinity Pool is definitely that. I really enjoyed it. Great performance by Mia Goth. A really, really solid flick. I believe this was my first Brandon Cronenberg. I have not checked out a lot of his stuff. I'm a huge David Cronenberg fan, but I haven't checked out the Nepo body horror as much. But I gotta say, loved Infinity Pool, so hopefully there's lots more good stuff on the horizon for Brandon Cronenberg. That was what I watched on October 12th. Okay, we're up to the 13th. That's the spooky number. Yes, it is Detective Carpenter. And on October 13th, I watched VHS Beyond, the next installment in the VHS series. These are, of course, anthology stories told under the guise of found footage. Though I would say this one is probably closer to mockumentary. I'm a real stickler about found footage versus mockumentary. Because if it's found footage, there shouldn't be any music. There shouldn't be any edits. The point of found footage is we found this bit of footage as is. We did not make any changes to it. And I gotta say, VHS Beyond straight up has like interview segments and edits and on-screen text and all kinds of stuff like that. So I really feel like it doesn't fit the moniker of found footage necessarily. Also, there were some scenes that really took me out of it where they had like interviews with real world people. And I know it was supposed to be like a, oh, hey, cute cameo. I know these guys. Instead, it just took me out of the scary stuff. So I was excited to see, people that I like from internet stuff. But it still took me out of the moment enough that I didn't actually enjoy it. And I enjoyed a lot of the vignettes, but I wasn't a fan of like that framing story of just like having real world people talking about alien stuff. I had a good time with it. I enjoyed a lot of the vignettes, some really good effects work in some of them, some really good camera work in some of them. So I'd still recommend it. I'd say, check it out. Oh yeah, I'm a big fan of those found footage movies there, Billy. Tell me, what did you watch after that? Well, completely out of the found footage wheelhouse. I wanted to make sure I got some Mario Bava in, because, I'm, of course, a well-rounded cinephile. And so that's why I watched. Did you watch Kill Baby Kill? I did, Detective Carpenter. How did you know? Well, I went to the movies recently with my little ones, and we watched Beetlejuice, and they mentioned Kill Baby Kill in that movie. Is that why you watched it? Yeah, you got me. I did go see Beetlejuice. And I was like, oh, I've never heard of that movie. I've never seen that movie. Oh, Mario Bava. Well, I hear you're cool if you watch his movies. No, that's not true. Coolness is subjective. No, I've seen other Mario Bavas. I think Planet of the Vampires is him. I'm woefully. I know my Argento, but I do need to watch more Mario Bava movies. I enjoyed Kill Baby Kill. It has all the staples. Your rich Technicolor. And your fast zooms on the scary thing. So I love all that stuff. I really enjoyed it. I had trouble paying attention. I will say that. Definitely a slow-paced one. Definitely more of a spooky atmosphere than something scary at every turn. Overall, I enjoyed it. Not too bad for a film from 1966. Oh, I agree. It's a stone-cold classic, Billy. Oh, wow, okay. Tell me, what did you watch on the night of October 15th? I'd been meaning to watch this for a while. The WNUF Halloween special, which came out in 2013. Now, this one's interesting. Would I call it found footage? Well, it is presented as a VHS recording of a Halloween night, though sometimes it fast forwards. And I was like, ooh, is it found footage? Not to be confused with Faust footage, though we'll get to Faust. Oh, good job teasing ahead there, Billy. Oh, thank you. Well, I pride myself on my hosting skills. The WNUF Halloween special it's supposed to be, I want to say it's set in the 80s, and it is supposed to be like you are watching a VHS tape of a local news broadcast's Halloween special where they go inside a haunted house. I have heard some complaints about this one. I've heard too many commercials. I agree. That said, I'm a stickler for realism, and a real news broadcast would have a ton of commercials. Sometimes the same commercial will play more than once. Sometimes they will fast forward the commercials. Which I think adds to the air of feeling like a friend invited you over and was like, you gotta see this thing that I taped off TV when I was a kid. And I like that, the fast forwarding sort of acknowledges there would be this many commercials, but we're gonna fast forward some of them because we don't want to lose, the plot thread. Here's what I'll say. I think I get the people who say there's too many commercials. It also doesn't feel like straight horror so much, though it does have... It definitely counts. It definitely counts as horror, but it's not as predictable as you might think going in. That's all I'll say. It didn't end the way I expected. I feel like I was sort of like, okay, the novelty of this is enough to recommend it, but I don't know if it's scary enough to revisit. And then the ending comes, and you're like, okay, that's pretty good. So yeah, I recommend it. Definitely, this is a good one to put on at the Halloween party. I wouldn't play music over it though. It's you also run the chance of maybe tricking someone into thinking it's actually from the 80s. If you are able to do that, I recommend you go for it. Oh, you're a fan of tricking people, huh, Billy? It's all in good fun as long as people are in on the joke, right? Right? I don't know, Billy. I don't know. We don't take kindly to people trying to scare other people, especially when there's a killer on the loose. No, no, no. I get you, detective. I get that, and I just want the record to show that, like, I'm complying with you. I am answering your questions. That's right. You are cooperating. All right, Billy. Well, tell me, what did you watch on October 16th? Oh, October 16th. That was the movie Angst from 1983. Now, this is a very, very fascinating movie because the premise is essentially you are watching a serial killer do their thing and you're hearing their internal monologue the whole time. And that's what makes it really, really creepy. I think it's based on actual events as well. But yeah, like it is disturbing. If you are a little tired of the standard slasher movie, I recommend putting on Angst because it'll shake you up. It'll fuck you up. Like I'm just gonna say it. Like Angst is very like yeah, you hear everything the killer is thinking while they kill, and it just makes it extra chilling and extra scary. So yeah, that one I recommend, but like you need to brace yourself for it. It's kind of stomach churning. I'm just gonna say there may be a reason why a lot of slashers don't talk. Michael and Jason just going around doing their thing. If you could hear what they're thinking all the time, it would be a radically different movie. And that movie would be Angst. So check that one out, but again, not for the faint of heart. Wow, sounds like you're watching a lot of really intense movies. Tell me, what did you watch on October 17th? Um, Psycho 2, which was not as intense for me. It was an interesting one, to say the least. I was hesitant to watch any of the Psycho sequels, and I'll admit, in my early days of getting into horror, I was hesitant to watch any horror sequels because I had heard that only the first one is ever any good, which is not the case, though I will say oftentimes the first one is the only good one for a lot of franchises. So yeah, I'm excited to see the others. I've heard some compliments for the Psycho sequels. Two, for my money, it's like it's so hard to pin down. I feel like if two had been a little more classy or a little more trashy, I feel like it would have stuck out a lot more to me. But instead, it was just kind of like down the middle, where it's like it almost seems self-aware that making Psycho 2 seems a little blasphemous. But they commit to it. And Anthony Perkins, killer as ever. Meg Tilly, also really good in it. And yeah, the storyline was like, okay, where are we going? What's happening here? I mean, what do you even do for Psycho 2, you know? So yeah, I'd say like it's worth checking out, but don't go in as like, oh, this is gonna be as good as Psycho. Like, no, 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 no. You're not. You don't watch the Psycho sequels with any expectation that any of them are gonna be as good as Psycho. But worth checking out, worth giving a poke. Okay, well, where were you on the night of October 18th then, Billy? Oh, well, I was at Damnation Land 2024, or perhaps that's Damnation Land XIV. What's that, 14? Yeah, that checks out, Billy. Good, yeah, Damnation Land 14. So, if you are not a resident of Maine, as I am, you may not be aware of Damnation Land, which is a local horror shorts festival. And typically the shorts are all tied together with like an interstitial story. and they are premiered and released as like feature-length films essentially. It's kind of like our own local VHS that, as far as I know, predates VHS. Also, I do want to just say on a technicality, I've written Damnation Land 2024 because old habits die hard. In the early days, they titled them by year, and then lockdown hit, and then I think the next one after lockdown was Damnation Land 13. So I feel like they kind of rebranded as like, oh no, we're numbering them by which number it is now. I kind of preferred the year one, but just in case you're looking for this and you're having trouble finding it, you may need to look under either Damnation Land 2024 or Damnation Land 14. Good luck, your call. So yeah, I enjoyed that. Some really good shorts. The technical achievement is always really good. Also, when I was at that event, I was running around dressed as Michael Myers. Ah, we knew that was you. We looked into that. Yeah, that was me. I was the Michael Myers roaming around Damnation Land. A spooky good time for people that I'm finding out literally today is not always a good time for people. As I was just informed today that I'm going to an event that they will not allow me to be Michael Myers at, which I'm not bitter. That's fine. I totally get it. Safety concern. You bet, when you're wearing a full face mask, nobody knows who you are. I get that that's both a fun part of it, but also if you don't know who that creep is, hey, maybe that's not for everybody. Totally get it. Totally not bitter about it. But Damnation Land, I try to make an appearance as Michael every year, so if you check that out, you may also meet me. If you ever find yourself in Maine in October, check out Damnation Land. I wanted to shout out one of the shorts is called Nobody's There. It is about looking for monsters in the closet and under the bed. It's so good. I really wanted to shout out the little girl actress from that, but also the actress playing the mom. Also, really great job. Really appreciated that one. I don't have a ton of specifics about a lot of the stories. A lot of very atmospheric ones. A lot of them were very like slow burn folk horror kind of a thing. But yeah, I recommend check it out. I'm always a fan of Damnation Land, and you always got to support the locals. Wow, that sounds really great. I got to start checking those out. You do, Detective Carpenter. They happen every year, and I bet you'd really like it. I bet I'd like that too. I got to check that out. Say, where were you on the night of October 19th? Oh, October 19th. Well, I was watching yet another movie from this year. I've been watching quite a few from this year. The First Omen, Immaculate, VHS Beyond, and of course Damnation Land. But I also watched, I think, no, not the last movie from this year. There's one more on the list. Yes, but I watched Oddity. Which, it's funny I mentioned the slow burn movies, because this one is very much a slow burn. Almost the definition of a slow burn. In the, like, I didn't know where the story was going to go. Again, seems like it was made on a pretty small budget. But yeah, some creepy stuff in it. A ghost story that has some twists that you might not see coming. But yeah, I really appreciated it. Again, it was very slow. I had to turn all the lights on, not because I was scared, but because I was worried I would fall asleep. In fairness, I am watching these very late at night, as you know, Detective. Oh, I know, you're a real night owl. You got to get your horror movies in, though, right? Yeah, and it was a struggle to fit some of these in before the end of the night. Let me tell you what. But I did it, and Oddity, that one was worth watching. Well, what about the next one, Billy? I'm so excited to hear more about your thoughts. What did you watch on October 20th? Oh, October 20th, that was... the title just rolls right off the tongue. Hell House LLC 2, The Abaddon Hotel. Oh, yeah, what did you think of that one? I love the Hell House LLC series. Do you now? Yeah, I liked it. I thought it was fine. I will say I love the first Hell House LLC, which I don't know if I've talked about it for a horror review. I don't know if I did it as part of the Halloween horror review one year, but at the very least, I've seen the first Hell House LLC, and I decided to keep going. It's fine. It's good. Okay, no, I don't want to be too harsh on it. They made a choice that I didn't really appreciate, which is the first movie did so much with like a micro budget, like just a VHS found footage horror movie. I guess though technically mockumentary because there are interview segments. But anyway, yeah, no, I like the first one. It's just about like a haunted house tour that may actually be haunted. And then Hell House LLC 2, the Abaddon Hotel, sort of fleshes out the lore of like how did it come to be haunted. I will say I docked it a point for going the CGI route. The previous movies seemed all pretty practically in camera, unless there's just something I'm forgetting. But like the first movie seemed like, yeah, just really good like coordination and choreography to pull off the effects. Whereas this one had a couple of moments of real crappy CGI. It's very brief, few and far between. Also, it's worth pointing out that like when they make sequels to these movies, I think they overestimate how much audiences remember the originals. There are a few moments in Hell House 2 where I'm like, oh, am I supposed to remember who these characters were? They do a good job reminding you though, so I'll give them credit for that. But coming up, we're gonna get some. No, I don't recall any of this. But yeah, no, worth checking out. More so than skipping it. I think if you like the vibe of the first Hell House, you're gonna get that again. So if you're looking for that vibe, go for it. Wow, you seem to have a lot of found footage on this list, Billy. Is that your main horror genre? Oh well, no, actually, I tend to like more horror comedies. Oh, really? Did you see any good ones this year? Well, I mean, I don't want to break the format, but maybe you could ask me what I watched on October 21st. Hey, what did you watch on October 21st? Oh, well, I watched yet another in the hey, I saw that VHS cover, but I was never allowed to rent it, and that was 1985's Ghoulies, which, if you have not seen the cover, it is almost notorious. It's a little monster popping out of a toilet. The tagline will get you in the end. And yeah, it's pretty obvious from the cover that it's a Gremlins ripoff, but I've got to say this. I'm pretty sure I watched Critters last year for the last Halloween horror review, and I gotta say, when people rip off Gremlins, they put way too much lore and backstory and rules, and the original Gremlins already has too much lore and backstory and rules. But like, Critters was like, yeah, we're gonna rip off Gremlins, but like, they're from space, and they're convicts or something, and then Ghoulies is like, oh, they're these little creatures, but like they can look like different things, and it's a satanic ritual or something. I know there's a bunch of Ghoulies sequels. Also, very fascinating to me that Ghoulies 1 is PG-13, but then the sequels are R. So I haven't done the full franchise of Ghoulies. And to be honest, I don't know if I'll continue. I think it was a Charles Band production, and I'm very hit or miss on Charles Band movies. I tend to either love them or just go, eh. Puppet Master, was that the same people? Was that Charles Band? Yeah, I didn't really love Puppet Master either. I don't know. There's just something about when Charles Band has little guys running around. I'm not a fan of it. Did he do Ginger Dead Man too? I didn't love that one either. Anyway, don't take my word on any of this. Can it be stricken from the record? Well, Billy, we need all of this so that we can, truly prove that you're innocent and that you're not the Spectrodome killer. Yeah, I suppose so. All right, well, on the record, apparently I don't like a lot of Charles Band Little Monster movies. Well, did you watch anything better than that? Oh, yeah, the very next night, on October 22nd. That's right, on October 22nd, I watched The Company of Wolves from 1984. Just an absolutely surreal werewolf movie. There were many moments where like I had to stop and go, have I not been paying attention, or is this just deliberately surreal where you're not immediately supposed to know what's going on? But very dreamlike, very fairy tale like, and the werewolf transformation effects. Here's what's interesting. I'm not going to say that they are the best, but they're very innovative. There are some scenes where like they mix up how they're doing it. It's real gross for something that's going for more of a fairy tale feel. Like a child might watch it. The werewolf effects are gross in a way that I think it might scar a kid. So highly recommend The Company of Wolves. I just really dug the tone of it. Also, like some veterans of acting, Angela Lansbury, David Warner. There was someone else, and I'm blanking on who it is. But yeah, highly, highly, highly recommend The Company of Wolves. Check it out if you haven't seen it. I really, really dug it. Okay, what about October 23rd? We're almost coming up to today's date. So what did you watch on October 23rd? Well, on October 23rd, I watched a made-for-TV British movie called Threads. And by the way, I'm on Threads, but no easy segue there. Threads is interesting in that I might not have categorized it as horror, but that may be the point. It may be the point that I wouldn't consider it hoarder movies. My favorite hoarder movie is The Little Mermaid. It is a horror movie, and the premise is basically like, hey, if a nuke hit a city, what would life be like? And turns out it would be horrifying. But that's basically the premise is, this British city, I want to say Sheffield, gets hit with a nuke. And it is basically, no pun intended, the fallout from that, just strictly as like, hey, society would collapse. Like, we are so used to the systems that are in place in modern society that without them, we can't do anything. And it's not saying it's anyone's fault. It's just more like everything in modern living is so interconnected that if you remove any one bit of it, it affects everything else. But now you've removed everything, you don't have a leg to stand on. So it's a very matter-of-fact kind of horror movie where it's just like you're just getting like data on screen. Sometimes the horror strictly comes from like, the numbers, the death toll, like how many people die from the initial explosion, but then how many people die from the aftermath. It's grisly, gruesome stuff, and it's hard to watch and presented in a very matter-of-fact, just like, yeah, this is probably what would happen, which almost kind of makes it scarier. I remember initially being like, this isn't scary, they're just typing words at me, but they're very scary words. So I recommend Threads. It's very intense, very disturbing. Not a rewatch movie. It's a put it on once and then go, yikes. I would say Threads and Angst are very much, they're not going to become part of the regular Halloween rotation. They are a put on once, drink in the bleakness, and then go, ooh, yikes. And then, I don't know, maybe put on something more fun. And is that what you did, Billy? Did you put something fun on October 24th? I put on Hell House LLC 3, Lake of Fire. Now, I didn't want to knock out a bunch of sequels for these, though I almost did all the Psycho sequels and all the Reanimator sequels this year. But yeah, no, I kept going with Hell House because when I watched Hell House 2, I posted on Threads, the app, not the movie, that I was disappointed by the little bit of CGI that they used in the movie. And somebody was like, "Hoo boy, you're not going to like 3." And I was like, ugh. Well, now I need to check out 3. So I did. Happy to report there wasn't a ton of CGI, but there was more, and it's really bad. And oh, please don't put CGI in your Hell House LLC movies. It just really ruins, like, especially when you have such effective, cheap, low budget effects that are just achieved through, like, proper camera placement, like just being very careful about what the audience can and can't see. So anyway, Hell House 3, I did enjoy. I thought I had a really good premise because you can only do so many "we're trying to figure out what happened here" found footage sequels, and so 3 kind of goes, nope. The camera crew involved in 3 doesn't give a shit about the mystery, And that's actually what I think makes it a better movie. I enjoyed 3 more than 2 just because it wasn't more interviews about like what really happened here. The premise of 3 is somebody buys the site of the Hell House and decides to put on a theater production there. And I'm like, yeah, hell yeah, that's genius. That's a really interesting way to go with the franchise. I will say 3 the most relies on you knowing the little bits of lore. There were definitely some moments in the movie where I was like, I think I'm supposed to be shocked, but I don't know what I'm looking at here. And then the movie went out of its way to explain what I'm looking at here. And I did have a moment of like, oh, I hate when the movie just tells you what's going on, but also I wouldn't have been able to tell what was going on without that. So thanks, movie. But yeah, I like 3 just for taking it in a new direction. It's like, yeah, no, the people filming this, they don't give a shit about the mystery. They're just here to make money. They know that there's some lore around this house, and if we put on a theater production around Halloween in this supposedly haunted space, we'll probably get a bunch of people in here. So I like that direction for the story. Wow, Billy, you sure watched a lot of movies this month. I know I'm supposed to be focusing on the investigation, but I'm kind of waiting with rapt attention. By my count, there's only 3 movies left. Yeah, that's right. You haven't even watched a movie for tonight, have you? No, I haven't watched tonight's movie. I will keep watching movies for the rest of October, but this episode is going to have to go up on the 28th. So you're going to come up a little shy of my 31 nights of October spook 'em up time Halloween fun. Well, I bet the last 3 are all doozies. Yeah, I had a good time with them. What did you watch on October 25th? I watched Infested, the last movie that came out this year. Oh, shoot, I meant to look this up and I didn't. It is not in English. I'm going to guess it is in French. I'm going to guess it's in France. I don't remember off the top of my head, but I really, really enjoyed that one. And that one is just a good old-fashioned uh-oh spiders. Though the movie is also uh-oh cops. Worth keeping in mind. I did actually make a Threads post. What is the most ACAB horror movie? Because cops being incompetent is frequently a staple of both life and also horror cinema. Hey, wait a minute. Are you making fun of me? Oh, no. Do you know what ACAB stands for? You know, people always say that when I'm walking down the street, but no one's ever told me what it means. Okay. I'm sure you'll figure that out someday. But in Infested, part of the premise of the movie is that like the handling of the situation is sometimes more deadly than the situation itself. And so I really appreciated that take on the movie, take on a creepy crawly creature movie. But yeah, like a lot to say. This is definitely one that I'll revisit. Has a very famous hallway scene, which I think I had heard about even before someone recommended it to me. So worth checking out. It's very good. And the ending kind of hit me in a way that I wasn't expecting. So yeah, I recommend that one. Okay, what about October 26th? That's just 2 nights ago. Yeah, that is just 2 nights ago. I watched Frankenstein's Army, a movie from 2013 that a buddy recommended to me. And yeah, it is a fascinating movie. I want to say, yeah, it is the last found footage of the batch. It is, it's a really interesting premise. A lot of found footage movies, they don't always stick the landing in terms of justifying why someone is filming it. But this one is actually pretty interesting. It's a propaganda piece. This is about a military unit that is basically filming propaganda about what an amazing job they're doing out there in the trenches. But then they discover that something odd is going on, and that something is Frankenstein's Army, which is a really good excuse for some really fun, practical makeup creature effects. I really, really appreciated that. The found footage aspect of it, it also helps that it's a hand cranked camera. So like it doesn't rely on that like, ooh, it's spooky because it's VHS. If anything, the picture tends to look clearer, and I feel like that really helps it. Because a lot of found footage, some of the scares just come from, ooh, the picture's blurry and that's creepy. The ambiguity, I can't see what I'm looking at. Oh no. Death to VHS, as Joe Dante said. Now, why would Joe Dante want VHSs to die? Well, people do have nostalgia for, renting a movie, but you got to admit, VHS is not the best picture quality. So, believe it or not, a lot of film heads, even though they love that it made films commercially available, they're not actually fans of VHS as a format. It's worth looking into. I'll say, boy, you sure know a lot about film, Billy. I really don't actually know that much. I feel like a lot of my experience is wanting to know more, but I'll never quite be good enough. Ooh, freaky. Hey, what did you watch on October 27th? Let's bring this thing home. October 27th. Literally, last night, I watched 2020's Freaky, which I just plain love the premise of. It is the title, you clearly can tell that they wanted to title it Freaky Friday the 13th. Because the premise is quite literally, what if Freaky Friday and Friday the 13th happened at the same time? And that is basically the premise. The Jason Voorhees of the movie goes to kill, a random teenager, and they swap bodies because unbeknownst to either of them, the knife that he used is some weird ceremonial, sacrificial, magic, whatever, and now they've swapped bodies. It does a really good job with the tropes of both horror movies and body swap movies. The performances are amazing. Oh, I've forgotten the name of the main actress. She's also really great in Lisa Frankenstein. Oh, I think she's in Ant-Man 3. I cannot remember her name. She's phenomenal. Vince Vaughn, also phenomenal. They do a really good job with the body swapping performance. Like they do a really good job playing each other. It's also kind of a nice switch up because the killer's almost always a dude. So it's kind of cool to see this young teen girl is the one going around doing all the slashing. Some brutal kills too. That's the thing is, I think this is from the same people that made Happy Death Day, which I also really liked, and its sequel. I am a fan of let's just take the premise of a non-horror movie and make it a horror movie. I believe there's a movie called Totally Awesome that I haven't seen yet because I try not to give Amazon money. I've heard that one is similarly it's just what if Back to the Future, but there was, a killer. I'm all for this kind of movie. I hope they make more. I can't wait to see what happens next. I think it's really great when horror can dip into other genres. I really liked Freaky. I knew that it was a horror comedy going in. So when I'm going into a horror comedy, sometimes I don't expect good kills, but there's some really good kills in it that I didn't see coming. It's really fun. Cameron from Ferris Bueller. Oh, I'm blanking on the actor's name, but he's in it. He's really good in it. I highly recommend Freaky. Well, that brings us up to right now, so that must be all the movies. Oh, well, actually, on October 25th, I did get a bonus movie in Satan's Little Helper as part of the Joe Bob Briggs Beelzebub Bash on Shudder. I did actually see a bonus movie. Oh, well, what did you think of that one? Just out of curiosity, because we already know where you were on October 25th. It's fine. It's a neat premise. It's about this kid who's just obsessed with the devil, and he wants to be Satan's little helper. And then one day, this guy in a cheap Satan Halloween costume appears to be the actual devil, which is kind of brilliant if you want to keep your budget down, but also still have a genuinely creepy premise. What if the weirdo walking around in the rubber mask actually turned out to be evil? You okay there, Billy? You kind of trailed off. Oh, sorry. Just thinking my thoughts. Anyway, detective, that's been my whole month. That's been my whole October right up to now. So, I guess, what's the verdict? Am I in the clear? Can I go home? Well, Billy, I gotta be honest. We've got a full log of your whereabouts for the entire month. There's no possible way you could be involved in these crimes. So, yeah, you're free to go. Once again, I release you as a suspect. You can head right out the door and go back to your regular life. Thank you so much, Detective. I'm glad that I could cooperate and help you catch this killer. So, if you don't mind me asking, can you tell me who the killer is? Well, okay, just this once. But don't tell anybody on your show. Come here, I'll whisper it in your ear. Oh, okay. All right, sounds good. Oh, no way. Really? It's someone that was mentioned on my show before? And people could figure it out by piecing together the clues? Wow! Thank you, Detective Carpenter. I never would have guessed, but it makes so much sense. Remember, you can't tell anybody on your show. Okay. Can I tell them on a bonus episode? Yeah, I don't see why not. Okay. As always, find out who the killer is on the bonus episode of Fix My Car Cast over on Patreon. It's true! You can find out who the killer is on Patreon! Or you can try to solve it by going back through every episode of the show. It's true, it's solvable, it's in there, you can figure it out. And maybe the answer changed based on the gimmick. Ooh!